Hello everyone and welcome back to Virtual Sunday School. So this week I am again on the road, but this time I am over at my friend Celia's house.
Hi, I'm Celia and I'm in 4th grade.
Alright everyone, so this week we are going to continue talking about the story of the Ark and the Temple. But I'm really excited for this story because Celia is going to help me tell the story, and we have some fun props to do that. So we are going to play, pretend, and tell the story for you today. I am finally king. Something is missing here though. What could it be?
What about this?
That's it! We need to bring the Ark here to Jerusalem. Why don't y'all bring it on down?
Sure.
Oh look, here they come! I'm so excited. It makes me want to dance.
Here you go.
Awesome! This is great. We shall build a beautiful temple out of cedar trees and mountain stones with carvings of olive wood and gold. However, I'm sadly a man of war, and I'm not fit to build such a holy place, especially for something so great. I've got it. My son, Solomon, can be in charge of building the temple.
I got this. The temple is finished.
Once the temple was finished, the priests brought in the ark, which carried the 10 Commandments inside. Next, they brought in the table with the bread for each of the 12 tribes that represented Jerusalem back then. So there are 12 pieces of bread for each of the 12 tribes that they put on top of an altar inside of the temple. This would probably be a place where we would put communion elements or a baptismal font, but communion was not something that they did at this point. The last object to go inside was the menorah, with its 7 branches and lamps burning. The last 2 items needed to go out front. The first was the great basin of water. Yes. The second item was the altar. So they put the altar and the water basin out front of the temple so that people who didn't quite have time to come inside could still have a chance to be blessed. And finally, the temple was ready.
The temple looks beautiful. Everybody come see.
As people came and gathered round to see what the king had finally showed, the king decided before the big reveal, King Solomon decided to pray over the temple. He prayed that God's name would abide in this temple forever, and he prayed that God would allow for this place to be for people to come to pray and find justice. And then it was time. What? When you go to Jerusalem today, the temple is gone. It was destroyed when the people of God were taken into exile. It was rebuilt but destroyed again and rebuilt again in Jesus' time by Herod. In 70 CE, Herod's temple was destroyed by the Roman army. Only pieces of it are left today.
This is what I think the temple looks like today.
All right, friends, so now we're going to kind of talk about how we can relate to the story today in our own lives. So the people of God back then, they lost their place of worship. You remember at the end we talked about how they got kicked out off and on again, and the temple got destroyed and then it got built again. They got kicked out of their place of worship all the time. And you know, it's not like we got kicked out of church, but it kind of feels like it a little bit because we can't really go back to the sanctuary. And we miss it. I mean, the sanctuary is this big, beautiful, holy place. And so I think we can relate to the people of that time, knowing what it's like to be told you can't come here anymore. Even though it's a little bit different, we can kind of relate to what they went through and we know what it was like. But the good thing is, because these people of God have been going to different places and worshiping with their ark, they knew how to do it. They knew how to worship at home. They knew how to take church and be somewhere else with it. So Celia and I are here talking, and we are going to talk about maybe the difference between going to church in the sanctuary and then having church at home. Both are equally special right now because both are kind of, something we're not used to doing, but it is something that we've kind of gotten used to now. So Celia, tell me, what is it about worship in the sanctuary that you kind of miss, that you really like more than worshiping at home?
I like being around people and just being able to know that I'm in a place where I can not just think about God alone.
Yeah, you don't have to think about God alone in that place. I like that. That's really good. So let's talk about worshiping at home. So what do you like about worshiping at home more than you like worshiping in the sanctuary?
I think just like being in an environment where I know all the people there, and I know that I don't have to drive all the way and then drive back.
Yeah, right. You know everyone who's going to be at church that morning because it's your family, right? Yeah. Because they live with you. Yeah. I think for me, my favorite thing about worship in person, like you were saying, is the people. What I like about worship from home is I get to wear my PJs. I kind of think that's pretty nice. I get to wear my PJs to church, so. All right, so another question I have is, other than, of course, worshiping at home, what have you been able to do right now to help you grow closer to God?
I've been able to just be able to go outside and think about how all of this is only what God made, and that we wouldn't have it unless He made it.
Yeah, so you enjoy being outside and enjoying what God made from being outside. I like that. I like going hiking for that same reason. Yeah, when I'm out on a hiking trail and you can see all those mountains, it's kind of cool to know that God created all that.
Yeah, and sometimes I think things like, why did He make bad things? Like, why did He, some people are scared of spiders and get hurt by them, but they eat mosquitoes, I think. And
Yep, spiders are good for that.
So the things we think are bad are good in some way.
Yeah, so you've been taking time to appreciate the things that might be bad or scary to other people and figuring out how you can appreciate it.
It's like it all connects.
Yeah, I think that's great. Awesome. Well, one more question, and you've got some items that you've prepared, so I'll go ahead and have you pull those up. So one of the things that we've been doing at home, several folks are creating altars for Communion Sunday or for regular worship services, where we take our spaces at home and we turn them into an altar. And one of the things that's really important about an altar is the fact that the priests brought the ark, which contained the 10 Commandments, inside and placed it on the altar because it was something that was so important to them. And so in just a moment, we're going to learn with Miss Erin about ideas from creating an altar at home, and maybe one that you can do that's more unique to you and your worship space than maybe it is other people in your house, or you can do it collectively. There's so many fun ways that you can do it. So, since we're talking about that, Celia, what items do you have from your house that remind you of God that you would maybe put on an altar at home?
Here's my Bible.
Your Bible, nice.
And then next I have this picture of me and my sister when we were kids.
Yeah, let's see. Very cute.
And then there's another one. I think you can unfold it or something. Yeah, and then there's another one of us looking at each other.
Look at that. So Greer and Celia's young sisters. I like it. So that would go on your altar. Awesome.
It was our Christmas.
I like that you still have that. Yeah.
And then next I have this that my grandma gave to me, I think when I was born. And it's this little necklace, and it has a little cross on it.
A cross necklace,
Yeah, it's hard to see, but there's a tiny diamond in the middle.
Yeah, let's see. I'll show everybody. So there's a tiny little diamond in the center that her grandmother gave her. So cool. It's a cross.
And then so it reminds me of God because it's a cross. And then I have two more things.
Okay.
Which are pictures
The good thing about your items is they're special to you, and other people probably have items that are special to them.
So we went to New York once for spring break.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called the Color Factory.
The Color Factory. I haven't heard of it.
It's like a bunch of rooms. So there's one room where they have, it's like you go through each room, and there's one room where they have little, I don't know what they're called, I forgot. But
So is this a picture from that, the ball things?
Yeah, and then they have little cookie things, and they're different colors, and then at the end you go to a ball pit, and that's a picture of us all in the ball pit.
Nice.
And
so
on
this
the back,
is
that was the Christmas
So this
card.
is your mom and dad and sister and you, and this is more recent because this one looks more like you than the other one.
Yeah.
The other one you were younger, but that's really cool.
And then
Awesome.
I have one last thing, which is this picture of me and my family. I think I was maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah. So another picture of your family. Is this one? It's framed. Is this one that goes in your house too?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
And
Very
something
cool.
that reminds me of how like when the people got kicked out of the temple, it has the same feeling because it feels like you're not exactly like being kicked out, but
Right.
they had to they had to deal with getting kicked out of everything, and then I think they probably just like prayed from home and stuff, and that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. So you kind of are recognizing how you relate to those people, huh? Yeah. Awesome. Well, Celia, thank you so much for letting me come and hang out in your yard with you and help our friends to learn a little bit more about the temple. So thanks for hanging out. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
We are talking more about making church at home this week. Last week we talked about ways to get rid of distractions, to have something to do with your hands that might help you focus and listen. And this week we're going to talk a little more about making a good prayerful church space in your house. Now, we don't have a whole separate room in our house that I can make look like church. We watch church together in the living room, which is the same room where we watch a movie or watch a football game or play a game or read a book. We do all kinds of things in our living room. So when we use our living room for church, we try to make it a little bit different, a little bit special. It reminds me a lot of how my kids are doing school right now. They're still at home doing school sometimes. And on days that they're doing that, the first thing we do each morning is set up our workspace. Some kids do it at the table, some kids do it at their own desk, but they make sure that their computer is there. They might have a box that has folders and notebooks and other books and whiteboards that they need for school. One has a cup with all his pencils and things so that everything he needs for school is right there. And then when that space is set up, he's more ready to get to work. So we try to do the same thing on Sunday mornings to get our house ready for church. So the first thing we do, since it is still just our living room, we take a couple things off the coffee table to make sure the coffee table is completely empty. We have our special bin that we have our coloring books and the latch hook and the fidget spinners and pencils, colored pencils in, and we have that sitting there, and everybody gets something before church starts. Then, after we have that set up, we put a few things on our coffee table. It does not look the same as church, but it does remind us of some of those things. This week, I'm going to ask you to think of ways that you can create a good church space in your house. So we start by taking off other distractions and other items. We put them back right after church, but just clear them out for just a little bit. Then when we think about the things we see in church that make it a good prayerful space, there's a cross at church. And so we have just a very small cross that we put on the table. We also, the front of church has the Bible open. We use this Bible because for years this was a Bible that my kids read in church and before bed and other times. So a Bible that reminds us of God's words. Then I have two other things that just kind of remind me of God. I have this special little thing that has a prayer written on the inside. And it's a prayer that I said with my parents when I was growing up. And so that reminds us of God, and a prayer that we say sometimes. So we set that up there. And I like the way it folds like this because it reminds me of church things. We also put a few flowers. Now these are just fake little flowers in a glass vase. And we set that there, and that reminds us of all the things that God has made. The final thing we do that one of the grown-ups is always there for is we light a candle. When we're actually in church, my kids like to acolyte. Those are the people who have the robes on and they bring in the flame at the beginning of church and they light the candles. And then at the end, they take the flame off the candles and take it out of the church. And that's really a reminder for all of us about being in God's presence in church and then taking that light with us as we leave and being God, being loving to other people. So we also have a candle. Some people might have like fancy dining room candles and tall candles. We have a candle that we use in the kitchen sometimes too, just this. This one is not special for church, but we light this candle on Sunday mornings and set that on our coffee table. All of these things help remind us that we're in a special space and we're talking to God and that we're still worshiping together. It's not the same as being in church, but I do like to think of the other people watching church at that time and thinking that other people have their own space set up for prayer. So this week, I want you to take a look at how you can easily take some of the distractions out of your room, have a basket of things that you can do during church, and then they may not be the same as my items, but think about the things you see in church or the things that remind you of God, and maybe make a little basket. We keep them all in a little basket like this, and make a little basket of things that you're going to set out in a special way on Sunday morning to bring church into your home this week. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.